Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Fire Up. I hope you are fired up as we are at this late hour tonight. How are you guys tonight?
I'm good.
Ralph? Ralph, you good?
Think so.
Doing real well. Thank
There
you.
we go.
I'm good. Thank you.
Good. Well,
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good. Thank you.
I have to say, the title says it all. The streak for Florida hockey teams continue. This is the sixth straight Stanley Cup finals that a Florida hockey team will be playing in. The first three were the Lightning. The last three have been the Florida Panthers. And with that, in walks Samir. Good evening, Samir.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Perfect time. We just started.
We really just started. So my first thing we were just going to quick talk about, is talking about how the streak for Florida hockey teams continues, because this is the sixth straight Stanley Cup final that will have one of the Florida teams. The first three were the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then the last three now have been the Florida Panthers. Who would have guessed one of the teams from one of the warmest cities, the warmest states, and we are in the sixth time, we're what I would consider a cold weather sport on the ice. Any thoughts from any of you?
I mean, I think it just goes to show what, and this follows for any sport, what the right ownership can do. Because especially with these Sunbelt teams like the Florida teams and Carolina, it shows what the right ownership can do. And with that being said, and regarding the subject of the success of the Sunbelt teams, there's been some chatter around Atlanta potentially getting a third try at the NHL. And obviously, the Flames weren't here very long in the 70s and 80s. They went to Calgary. The Thrashers were here for 11 years. They only made the playoffs once. Their owners, the Atlanta Spirit Group, could care less about the team. They were too busy fighting each other more than they were about investing in the team. And attendance was bad. Team wasn't very successful. They end up going to Winnipeg, and they are now the Jets. So look, I know it's a long shot. I know recently the commissioner said they weren't looking to expand anytime soon, but I wouldn't rule out Atlanta potentially getting a third shot at the NHL. And I feel the same way about Arizona. I know they just lost their team and they had issues with ownership and the arena situation, but I feel like with the right ownership group, as you're seeing in these Sunbelt cities like Tampa, Florida, Miami, the Miami, Fort Lauderdale area, Carolina, the right ownership, it can work. So that's my takeaway from it.
Pensman, your thoughts?
It seemed like to me that I don't like them, but when you get into the playoffs, it's a whole new season. They limped into playoffs, and when they played the playoffs, they seemed to get hotter as every series happened. So I thought the Capitals were going to be at the Stanley Cup. I thought they were going to lose to the Florida Panthers, and then they just kept going. And then Carolina, they seemed like they're a fighting team, but they fell apart. So, like, good goaltending gets you where you need to get to. So, I give credit to the Florida Panthers.
Ralph, your thoughts?
Well, Florida's always been a fighting, gritty type of team. The Lightning have been in the Stanley Cup and have won some. So, it's no surprise that these two teams, and they have good coaches as well. Some pretty decent coaches that they've managed to have that have been able to keep these teams in the hunt every single season. And there's times when I've watched the Lightning play the Penguins and the Panthers play the Penguins, and the Penguins struggle against both of these teams because both of these teams are gritty and and have and been in and out of these playoffs and the Stanley Cups. And they know how to win. I mean, you have to know how to win. There's a way to do it as far as winning goes.
The one thing I will say is it doesn't matter your regular season record. What matters is getting into the playoffs, especially for the NHL, and being hot at the right time. The Panthers, they take it to a whole new level when I think from the regular season. They've been doing really well, and it most definitely matters who's between the pipes. Because let's face it, if you watched the Panthers series with Carolina, until Carolina made the switch behind the pipes, everybody thought the Panthers could sweep them. And they didn't. They lost the game when the pipes went to somebody else. But Bobrovsky is a really good goaltender. And he's resurrected his career, and he's going to go down as one of the best, I would say. Now, still kind of speaking of a little bit about hockey, but I found this and I thought this was really interesting. Since the Minnesota Timberwolves were eliminated by the Thunder in the Western Conference Final, it has now been 34 years since an MLB, NBA, NFL, or NHL team from Minnesota has won a championship. No other city has a current drought of more than 20 years. So the Minnesota Wild have 0 Stanley Cups in their history. Minnesota Timberwolves have 0 NBA championships. The Minnesota Vikings have 0 Super Bowls in their team's history. And the Minnesota Twins, the last time they won in the World Series, came back in 1991. What are your thoughts about Minnesota and this drought? Who'd like to go first?
I guess it shows that
I can say this. Well, go ahead, Pensman. Go ahead, go first.
Go ahead, Samir.
I mean, I guess it shows that as an Atlanta sports fan who has endured his own fair share of sports pain and getting close and not quite getting there, I guess it shows that we're not alone. I mean, that's my only takeaway from it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Ralph?
Yeah, it's hard to come back from a deficit. And it's really hard if you are, in that hole. I mean, it's not easy. And if it's been since 1991 that they've come back or even won a championship, more or less, this is something that what somebody used to say to me when they didn't know, they weren't familiar with something. They used to call it generic because they weren't familiar with it. Maybe they're not familiar with this. This is something that's new to them now. And it's been a long time. So let's see if they can come back and win and do some and really do something here. That would be that would be very interesting to see that.
Pensman, your thoughts?
The Minnesota Twins have bullpen problems. They need to get the bullpen situation fixed. They need to draft players. The Minnesota Timberwolves are getting close. They keep making the playoffs, but they just can't find the finishing touch to get to the finals. And the Minnesota Wild, they went out and got Marc-Andre Fleury, and then you saw what he did in Pittsburgh, and you saw what he did in Las Vegas. So something's not right with the Minnesota Wild. If you get Marc-Andre Fleury between the pipes and you can't win there's got to be something wrong. So I think Minnesota's getting closer. They just need these little touch-ups to get there.
And my take is, considering I'm from Wisconsin, I don't really care if Minnesota wins or not because normally they're always against us. So, for me, well, let's put it this way. The Twins are an American League team, so they don't really go against my Milwaukee Brewers. But obviously the Vikings play in the same division as the Packers. The Vikings can stay in the bottom, that's fine, or go back down to the bottom, that's fine with me. Minnesota Timberwolves, yes, they're much improved, I think, over the last couple of years. Do they have enough to get them over the hump? Obviously they didn't this year, so, and the Wild have tried, but they just couldn't get it done this year either. So, but to know that no other city has quite the drought is kind of, I thought, very interesting. Let's move a little over, since we're talking a little bit about the Twins. Let's talk a little bit of. I have an interesting stat. The payroll of the LA Dodgers injured pitchers. $102 million in injured pitchers is more than the total payroll of 6 teams: the Guardians, the Rays, the Pirates, the Athletics, the Marlins, and the White Sox. Thoughts about how much payroll is sitting on the injured list with the Dodgers?
Well,
Ralph,
that happens to the Dodgers every year, Candy. It seems like they go out and they spend all this money, except for last year now, okay? But every other time they go out there, they fall short of getting to the World Series, except for last year, okay? But now we're back to the same cycle with them again, that they have all these injured players and all this big money out there, and who knows what's going to happen this year with them.
Pensman, your thoughts?
Like your take. I don't care. It's just the Dodgers are the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I'm a Yankees fan, but they're all you keep hearing. You turn on the ESPN, and the first thing you hear is the Dodgers this, the Dodgers that, Toddy this, the Toddy that. It's like, okay, there's 32 other clubs. Talk about other clubs, but they spend their money wisely. But injuries come, so Dodgers want to pay it.
Samir, your thoughts about the injured payroll of the Dodgers?
Yeah, they it just goes to show you how good they are as an organization by the fact that they've had all these injuries. Like even last year, they had injuries to their starting pitching last year in the postseason, and they still won the World Series. It goes to show you that, not only do they spend money, but they're also really good at, utilizing and developing their talent. That's just what it is. It's like they're that organization they just do everything miles ahead and better than everyone else. From their scouting, their developing, from the way they spend money, the way they sign, the players they sign. I think it's easy to point to their payroll and the big names like Mookie, Shohei, and whatnot, but what's not talked about enough is how they bring guys in that were, kind of tossed aside by other teams, like Chris Taylor, who was just DFA'd by them not too long ago. He was a key part of their organization for years. Max Muncy was cast off by the Athletics, and now he's been there for a number of years. Same with Justin Turner. He was a cast off for what team did he play for before the Dodgers? I forgot.
Who bets?
No, Justin Turner.
I think it was the Red Sox.
I mean, years before that.
Oh.
So like Justin Turner, for example, he was with the Orioles and the Mets for a number of years. Didn't really contribute there. Then he was signed to the Dodgers, and he's there for almost a decade. And he's an all-star with them. So it just shows you how much, just shows you where they are as an organization more than anything.
It also shows you how much money they have to spend. Because if they can have that much money on their payroll that's injured, and yet they're still fielding a team and doing better than some of these other teams, That's kind of crazy. I mean, how much money they have to spend. We all know that they've spent a lot of money, though, too. I just thought that was really surprising that they had so much $102 million worth of pitchers sitting on the injured list. So,
Samir, I think it's the Red Sox because I think him and Mookie came to Dodgers almost the same time.
No, Justin Turner, his first year there was 2014.
That's it. Okay.
He was with the Mets and the Orioles from 2009 to 2013.
Okay. For some reason, I thought he was playing with the Red Sox before he went to. So I don't know. So we're good.
okay, so I have an odd one tonight.
No.
So the Milwaukee Brewers, set a new $1 hot dog record. So they sell dollar hot dogs. They sold in one day 41,733 hot dogs at one game.
Wow.
The capacity of the stadium is 41,900.
What was that total again?
41,733.
That's crazy.
Well, how many hot dogs they sell again? Or
they sold 41,733 hot dogs, where their capacity for seating is only 41,900. So almost everybody had at least one. And I don't know if the attendance that day was 41,900, but that's their capacity.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Well, you know what the Pirates are doing now, Candy? They're having a dollar dog day. What they do is every Thursday when they have businessman specials, at 1:30 start time, when nobody's at the game, that's when they're doing their dollar dog days now. Before they did them, and you could eat as many as you wanted. And then I think it was 3 years ago, Pensman, maybe, if you remember this correctly, they ran out of buns.
Yeah.
And then the year after, they ran out of hot dogs. So now then last year they did 2 hot dogs per person. That was all you could get for $1. And now they're doing it on Thursdays for every time there's a businessman special. That's when they're doing them because they get about 4,000 fans or something.
They actually had to run out and get more buns that night.
More buns, yeah. I know the director of food service over there because I used to work security at PNC. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Samir, any thoughts?
It's not there anymore.
Samir doesn't have any thoughts.
Wow, that's okay. It was just one of those odd things.
That's a lot of hot dog and candy. That's a lot of hot dog in there.
That is a lot of hot dogs.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, my only thoughts are that I know if you follow NFL concession pricing, for those that do, a lot of people don't. The Falcons and Mercedes-Benz Stadium have kind of flaunted their cheap concession prices compared to the rest of the league, and hot dogs are relatively cheap. So this past season against the Chiefs, our owner Arthur Blank was inducted into the team's Ring of Honor.
That's
good for him. That's awesome.
So I guess in honor of that, they made all the hot dogs free that night. And I think by the middle of the third quarter, apparently they ran out of hot dogs. So
wow. Well, you know what? I spent more time in line waiting for hot dogs than I did watching the game. I had to watch it on a TV screen because I spent all my time in line trying to get hot dogs. I mean, at PNC Park. So when I used to go for dollar dog.
I have a question for Candy.
Okay.
Do you know how the hot dog race went on Saturday at Indy?
Oh, I do not.
Okay. You brought it up last Thursday. I didn't know if you watched it or.
I did. Oh, yeah. I did not. I'm trying to think who won, which one of the wieners won. I did see that. I did even see the winner. Let me see.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you did or not because I saw highlights of it, but I didn't see who the winner.
Um,
An Oscar Mayer wiener.
That was in there.
the Slaw Dog Wienermobile won the inaugural Weenie
Okay.
500 race, a 2-lap competition held at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway during what they call Carb Day. The race featured 6 Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles competing for the win. So, yeah, that
Okay.
was. I read up about it, and they said, what did it? I was trying to read to see if it told me. So it says, according to IMS, each Wienermobile represented a different regional dog. So it included the Chai dog for Midwest, the New York dog for East, the Slaw dog for Southeast, the Sonoram dog for Southwest, the Chili dog for the South, and Seattle dog for the Northwest. Each driver had a custom hot dogger racing suit, and the winner was presented with their trophy and a hot dog in the Wieners Circle. I want to say, let's see, fans were able to bet on it. Those who got the most points won a share of a total cash prize of $10,000. I want to say I read someplace. I'm trying to find out if they say how fast they went. Oh, I thought I had seen that. Let me see if I can find anything else on it. I thought it was so funny though. That's why we brought it up.
No, we were talking about hot dogs. That's what made me think of it.
Yeah, no, we talked about it a little bit, and and that was it's it in a down to the wire race among the 6. Let's see. Made a dramatic pass of the Wienermobile repping Chicago at the finish line to win the inaugural Weenie 500. The margin was about a half a bun. Oh, that's kind of funny, but it does not. The Wienermobiles have been around since 1936 as a promotional vehicle for Oscar Mayer. I was just trying to figure out if it. Oh, it did say they jumped into the lead. The Wienermobiles slowly picked up speed until they reached about 65 miles per hour. Which, if I'm thinking about, like, I know driving my own car, like 65 doesn't seem that much. But if you're talking about on a racetrack with that big Wienermobile, that would be kind of very interesting. But
and NASCAR is cautioned 65 miles per hour too. So
yes. So I have a question for you guys, because I know we normally talk a lot of NFL, and I know 2 of you are kind of Pittsburgh guys, and I know you're waiting for a decision. But my question would be, if Aaron Rodgers does decide to retire, does it taint him or change your opinion if he signs a 1-day contract with the Packers to retire as a Packer, or if he doesn't? Does it matter to you? Does it change your thoughts about him at all? And we'll start with you, Ralph.
No, it doesn't. But I will say this: I could care less if he comes to Pittsburgh or not. I think we can win with Mason Rudolph if they can get the running game going and get the offensive line up to speed and the defense and the line of scrimmage. And we have Will Howard. My Sports Corner radio show, we talked about, hey, Will Howard, just start him and go with him. And if he doesn't work out, oh well, too bad. You had a losing season, or you went 9-8 again. So mediocre might get its best. So this stuff waiting for him to sign with us or to show up for whatever. I think the Steelers should just say forget it and let's go with Mason Rudolph or Will Howard or whatever. And let's just move on. It's a distraction. It's caught. You got everybody out there saying this and that. Oh, they spotted them in town and he's not there. He hasn't been seen in Pittsburgh. So there are people out there with fake news, like Scott says, fake news, with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting a little tired of it. I just want the Steelers to move on from it. If my eyes, if he didn't sign by the end of the draft, forget it. It's over. So
Pensman, your thoughts?
I'm with Ralph there. It doesn't change anything. If he comes to Pittsburgh, if he does, all I want is wins. That's all I care about. I'm tired of winning seasons. I'm tired of this. I just want to compete for the Super Bowl. I want this. I want that. But all I heard was this is an off-season topic. That's all I keep hearing. It's an off-season topic, and I think we can win with Rudolph. And the way I hear about Will Howard, I think, and I wanted him to be our quarterback in the draft, and we got him. So I think he brings his Ohio State performance and we get Olave, which is a long shot. But if we do get Olave, I think we'll be all right. But I think he should retire as a Packer.
Samir, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it's a question. He's going to retire a Packer. I don't think that's a question. Yeah, and now regarding Ralph, your comments on Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. I know in Pittsburgh, with the fans and the media, the expectation is that every year they're competing for the Super Bowl. And I know a lot of Steelers fans have complained about Mike Tomlin, but I mean, can we be fair here? Like, can you really expect the guy to win Super Bowls with, since Ben retired, Mitchell Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph? I think Duck Hodges played a couple of games.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Fields, who's been let go by 2 teams now, and a washed up Russell Wilson. Like, who realistically is contending for a Super Bowl with that, given the rest of the quarterbacks that are in the AFC and in the rest of the other teams in that division, specifically Baltimore and the offense they have in Cincinnati?
well,
I mean,
I
look,
will say this, Samir, and Pensman will agree with me on this. Okay, Mike Tomlin has a lot of say in what goes on in this whole situation, Samir, because what happened was Dan Snyder came a sniffing, looking at Mike Tomlin to be his general manager and his head coach at one point. Okay, with the Redskins, Commanders, whatever you want to call them. Okay,
what was this?
This is a while ago.
This was like right around the tail end of the time when Dan Snyder still had the team there. He came a sniffing, looking for somebody to take over like that. And Art Rooney II was forced to give Mike Tomlin more power. So now Mike Tomlin has more power. Tomlin's part of this problem too, because he has a lot of more say than everyone thinks in this whole situation. Okay, they blew it after Roethlisberger retired. They should have had a better game plan. They relied on Kenny Pickett. They took Kenny Pickett because they didn't want to hear complaining from Pitt fans if Pickett went somewhere else and won a Super Bowl. Oh, why didn't he take the Pitt guy? So not to have the slack from the Pitt fans, they went ahead and drafted him in the first round, and it backfired. Blew up in their face, and they got an egg on their face. Okay? They should have had a game plan ahead of time. They never did. Kevin Colbert never did, and neither did Mike Tomlin. And now we have Omar Khan, who's a numbers cruncher and not a football kind of guy. He handles the salary cap and stuff like that. They only gave him the GM post because other teams come a sniffing, looking to sign him to be their GM. So, that's Mike Tomlin has more power than everyone thinks. Okay. I just want to let you know that. And he had a lot of say in this stuff too. So it's not all the front office. A lot of it is him too.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know like the power structure with NFL teams kind of varies. I know a lot of like for example, in the case of the Falcons, and it's only unique to them. They tout this collaboration, way of doing things where there's no one guy that makes the final call. It's kind of like this, between the head coach, the general manager, maybe the owner, maybe the owner's right-hand man, Rich McKay. Like, there's no idea. There's not really clear on who's in charge. So I guess in Pittsburgh, it's the opposite. Tomlin is calling the shots.
Yeah,
Right,
so
exactly.
you just don't know it.
I
Right.
got you.
You
Yeah, a
have
lot
to
of people
you
don't
have
know
to
that.
study. You have to actually study and read between the lines in Pittsburgh.
But I would also say this. You guys complain that you've never been to the Super Bowl, but yet you've never had a losing season under Tomlin for how many years? There are a lot of teams that would love to even be in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, look, as a Falcons fan, I'd love to say my team has gone almost 2 decades of not having a losing season.
Okay. All right, Samir. Okay.
Look,
All
I
right.
mean, look, we haven't made the
No, hold
playoffs
on, hold on.
in years.
You rather have winning seasons and then not go to the Super Bowl and erase that 28-3 deficit. You rather do that?
I would rather do that than go through the worst loss in sports history
Okay.
and then losing the divisional round next year and then go 7 years without making the playoffs.
Okay.
Well,
That was because you had a bad hire for a coach.
what about being a Detroit Lions?
Oh, well, that's
When was the last time they went to the Super
Oh
Bowl?
no. That's what I'm saying. Like they
Yeah.
went to the NFC Championship game last year. They
They-
had to build up.
right.
Yeah, but
right.
they
And
haven't-
I bet you before they hired the Campbell Holmes regime, I bet you they would be in the same boat saying, hey, well, we'd like to have a Mike Tomlin, all these
Yeah,
winning
they didn't
seasons.
even have winning seasons.
They went winless one year. So
Well, maybe if he did go to another team, he'd have more success. Good for him.
So you think it'd be
Maybe
like
the
Andy
Steelers need
Reid
to get
kind of thing?
somebody in here, some new blood. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe if he goes somewhere else, maybe he'll do better. I don't know. I can't say.
We're just tired of
Yeah.
winning seasons and one and done. We just want to go. We want to actually see what the AFC Championship game in the Super Bowl feels like again.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
will say
exactly.
the one complaint I would have about Tomlin, and I think this is his biggest shortcoming, is his coaching tree. Like,
Yes.
I think the only
exactly.
coordinator under Tomlin that's gone on to become a head coach was Bruce Arians. And wasn't Arians there under Cowher already?
Yeah, he was there under Cowher. Yes. So, and then he ended up signing Arians to be his offensive coordinator when he took over, and Dick LeBeau was in charge of the defense. And then what had happened was when Dick LeBeau retired, or when his contract was up, they never re-signed him. Re-signed him to do that because Tomlin wanted control of the defense. So then what happened was they ended up having Keith Butler, as the defensive coordinator for many years. So there you are.
Big mistake.
You gotta
Big
understand
mistake.
So
as the running the offense. I don't need to reminisce on those 3 years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And Mike Thomas never actually had a winning team. All this winning team was Bill Cowher's team.
I know those early years, a lot of those were Cowher holdovers. I mean, they've had some talented teams under Tomlin. Of course they had
just
that
don't know how to
period
finish it.
Yeah, I know they had that period with the Killer Bees when the offense was really good,
Right.
but the defense wasn't good then.
Before Brown got decked in Cincinnati, he was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course the defense wasn't good like in 2017. I know Blake Bortles put 45 on the Steelers in that playoff game, and I don't think they've won a playoff game since. Last time was 2016, right? They beat the Chiefs.
Something like that.
Yeah.
No, they haven't. Right. Exactly. Yes. That's why they're having a debate right now, Samir, as to whether or not we should re-sign TJ Watt. We should just let him play out his contract or try to trade him and get a bunch of players, because now TJ Watt has been with this team. The consensus here, or the consensus in Pittsburgh, is the fact that maybe we can win with them or we can win without them. And, if we get to the Super Bowl without them, then we look like geniuses. If we don't get to the Super Bowl with them, then we don't look like geniuses,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I don't see that happening. Let's be real, because TJ Watt is obviously a difference maker. I was seeing a stat somewhere that the Steelers defense, I think, like there was a difference with and without TJ Watt. And it was a
there
huge
is.
difference. Like that week 1 game against the Falcons, the one I was at, like I'll tell you right now, the Falcons win that game had it not been for TJ Watt.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Samir. He is a difference maker, but there's been a lot of times in key games that he's laid an egg. And, he let a rookie offensive lineman bully him around in a couple of games. So, I mean, Pensman will even tell you that. I mean, if you watch the games carefully,
Plus, in the last 3 or 4 games, he's the last 4 games. He last 3-4 seasons, he's been injured a lot. He's been having his pectoral. He's got surgery. He's been hurting his ankle, his knee. He's starting to break down. So,
yeah, he has played hurt though, Pensman. That's one thing I will say. But
I'm just saying his injury prone is starting to come in.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. I'm sorry, Candy. We didn't mean to.
No, that's fine. That's part of the show is the ebbs and flow of us having good conversations.
Yes, we are.
And Cole, you can have them if you want. If you give us a good draft pick or whatever, that's fine. The Bucks can have them if you give us the right pieces. So,
well, I would say I could even almost see him coming, and this is going to surprise you, coming to Green Bay, coming back home because he's from Wisconsin originally.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
We can, 2 first-round picks maybe, or a first round and some other picks, and load up some draft picks and maybe get a key player or two. I would. We got some guys in the system now we're developing. Nick Herbig. I mean, we got Jack Sawyer we just drafted. So
if you give us Savage, you can have TJ.
So I hear there's a report out there, Dolphins Steelers discuss trade for Jonnu Smith. What's your thoughts?
we got too many tight ends now. We got too many tight ends.
Look,
no way.
Yeah, look, I've seen it up front for 3 years. Arthur Smith loves his tight ends. And it's no surprise because Jonnu Smith has had a lot of success in Arthur Smith's offense. Like, for example, with the Titans years ago, I believe it was 2020, he had 8 touchdowns. And then he went to New England, didn't do anything there. Comes here to Atlanta that 1 year and has the same number of touchdowns as Kyle Pitts. They both had 3 touchdowns that year. And he only had, like, for example, 2023, the 1 year Jonnu Smith was here, Kyle Pitts only had 3 more catches than Jonnu Smith. So I know Jonnu Smith is a guy that Arthur Smith loves to utilize. He made the Pro Bowl last year, almost 900 yards, 88 catches, and 8 touchdowns, by far the best year of his career. So we'll see.
Well, we'll see too as well, Samir, because here's the thing. We don't really have a solid second receiver yet to back up DK Metcalf. So if Metcalf is being double teamed or triple teamed, we got to get the ball to the tight end. And maybe you're right. Maybe that'll work this year. You know what I mean? But we really don't have it because we traded George Pickens, which everyone thought it was going to be Pickens and Metcalf. But, we traded George Pickens. And, but who steps up? Roman Wilson's been hurt, a bunch of guys. I mean, we got some guys who are average, but that's about it.
They were saying it, Ralph, that Roman Wilson could be the number 2 guy now because Roman Wilson's been stepping up in OTAs. And there's the dark Southern gentleman in the dark.
What's he in the dark room here?
Aaron Rodgers Jr.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, Aaron Rodgers? What's going on?
Well, Josh would be happy to know that I'm inside my garage, inside my car.
Too bad Josh isn't on.
Hey,
Right.
I've done broadcasts inside my vehicle already many
That's
times.
priceless. That's priceless.
Yeah, so we're down at a wedding down in Charleston. I've got like 7 adults in the house staying here with me, 2 kids, a dog, and I never miss the opportunity to jump on a show of Fire Up if I can avoid it, and so here I am.
Plus, you probably wanted to avoid the other 7 adults right now and talk some sports, right?
I'm gonna leave that one. I'm not gonna fry up the other adults this evening, but yes, you could say that I needed a break.
Hey, that's almost as bad as Pensman's friend staying with 8 people or whatever.
No, that was him. That was JD. He said 8
Oh,
people.
JD, 8 people. Okay. I didn't catch it at the beginning.
No, you're
so.
good. JD said 8 people. I didn't know about the 7, unless he's counting the 8 as the dog.
So,
I'll set
JD,
up
Yeah, well, I
a
mean,
man, sleep out on my deck.
let's see, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. I mean, it's literally like 10 people. And now this isn't a normal living arrangement. This is just we came down for a wedding. We're in beautiful SoCon country down here, Southern Conference. We're on the I've been on the Citadel campus. I put out a tweet earlier that a lot of people are jumping on. That SoCon campuses are some of the best, most beautiful campuses in all the world. And yeah, that this is just this is a few night thing to celebrate one of the most beautiful things in the world, which is a wedding.
awesome, awesome. So I went around the horn, I guess, around and talked to the other guys and got their opinions. My question to you is, if Aaron Rodgers decides to hang it up and retire, does it taint his image or anything like that you think of him if he signs a contract with the Packers for one day to retire as a Packer, or if he doesn't sign one? Your thoughts or opinion on that?
Overall, I think at this point his legacy is already somewhat tainted, going from being what we all expected to be a Hall of Fame quarterback for the Packers, and then going to the Jets, where he, for lack of a better word, failed miserably. So I almost think at this point, if he were to sign anywhere else, it could further taint his Hall of Fame status. So I think Aaron Rodgers would be best served staying at home. And I mean, if he ends up signing back with the Packers to retire, that would be all fantastic at the end of the day. But I I don't know that he is welcome back in that regard.
Okay. Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Well, we can say it is final now. The Knicks did beat the Pacers tonight, so
That's right.
they will live to see another game. So the Pacers do lead that series 3-2. Any thoughts on that series? And we will start with Samir.
Yeah, I'm not surprised the Knicks won last night. I mean, won tonight. I know they haven't been very good at the Guard in these playoffs. Hasn't been the home field advantage that these Knicks fans like to tout it as. But they won. They took care of business and it's going to a game 6. I do believe Indiana will close it out there. They've been very good at home in the playoffs, so we'll see.
Pensman, your thoughts?
Finally, we finally beat the Indiana Pacers. JD knows this. We lost so many 1-point games. I'm so glad that we got to play on the last night of Thursday night TNT of the broadcast of that. So tonight is the last night on TNT for the NBA. So
Wow.
I'm just glad the Knicks did win tonight, and we'll see what happens Saturday night. Fingers crossed, we'll be at Game 7, hopefully.
Ralph, your thoughts?
Well, I like to see the Pacers because I like the underdog. The small guy the team that you wouldn't expect to win. The Knicks haven't been in it in so long, I can't even remember. So
2000.
Yeah, something like that, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I'm rooting for the Pacers because it's going to be interesting to see both the WNBA team and the NBA team both make headlines and both be able to, make some hay. It's good for the economy there, and it's good for, fans of both teams. So,
JD, your thoughts?
I said it the other day. Regardless of when these conference finals are over, the NBA finals will not start until next Thursday, June the 5th. And I had a feeling that the Knicks and the Pacers were going to go to a game 7. And to me, that plays to both of their detriment when it comes down to facing OKC. There's always the argument of, is it better to get some rest versus is it better to, keep your momentum going, keep yourself hot, and, not look like you've had a few days off. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see how long the Pacers Knicks series gets stretched out while OKC is A, already the best NBA team, and B, getting this extra rest going into the finals. Yeah, they might be a little bit cold or streaky their first game back, but at the end of the day, something has to be said for a potential 7 days of rest compared to your opponents. And not only that, the Knicks and the Pacers in their comebacks. Not only will they be physically tired, they're going to be mentally drained.
And they both teams haven't been there for a long time, so it goes to the point where they might be drained because it's been a long season, and then they've gone this far. I still like the Pacers. I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to do it in 6. Yes. And for Christopher, thank you. Yes, for all you hockey fans, it is a rematch of the Cup from last year. So Edmonton managed to win tonight 6-3 over the Dallas Stars. So it will be a rematch of last year's Stanley Cup Finals. And I believe that one starts June 4th, I think is what they were saying if the series ended tonight. So I'm guess we could be seeing, the NBA finals and the Stanley Cup finals back to back, starting days apart. Anybody's thoughts about the rematch for the Stanley Cup?
Well, I just want to say shout out to our guy Brian who picked the Dallas Stars. He was all in on that pick, and man, I hate to tell you, but like most of my predictions, you were wrong too, Brian. I love you. Sorry about the Dallas Stars losing.
Anybody else predictions?
I hope Connor McDavid does get it this time. And I was going to say this earlier, but I just want to remind the Florida Panthers it is a three-peat. So you know how teams are with the three-peat. So I just hope Connor McDavid does get the championship. He deserves one. He got a gold medal. So we'll see what happens.
Ralph, your thoughts?
I would love to see Connor McDavid finally get Stanley Cup. It would be interesting to see Edmonton in this game. They're already up 4-1, and we'll see what they do, and we'll see what goes on with the Panthers and the and the rest of this, and could be a rematch from last year. We'll see what happens.
Samir,
and
your
maybe
thoughts?
not. I don't know. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I'd like to see Connor McDavid get it. And more importantly, or most notably, it'd be good to see a Canadian team get it. It hasn't happened in over 30 years. Let's see if the Oilers do it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, the three-peat's interesting, and the Canada team aspect is very interesting.
Yep. I agree. Okay, guys. NBA. The last time each team reached the NBA Finals. The drought for some teams is real. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that have never made the finals. Can you guys guess the 5 teams that have never made the NBA finals?
I'm going to say Minnesota. The Atlanta Hawks. Well, since they've moved to Atlanta, they haven't.
Okay.
So
They're not one of the 5, though.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna say the Hornets. That's another one.
Yes.
The Pelicans.
Yes.
Let's see. So Minnesota, Charlotte, New Orleans.
What about the Washington Wizards?
I think
1979 they were last, and Atlanta was last at 1961.
yeah. So before they moved to Atlanta.
Right.
So Knicks were 2000. Philly was there, so they kept them out.
The Nets made it twice in the 2000s, so it's not.
Yeah.
Correct.
What about the Supersonics?
Yeah.
The who? I'm sorry, JD.
Supersonics.
No, they actually. Well, no, it's actually a team now.
There, I got my 5.
Okay, Ralph, what are your 5?
My 5 are the Minnesota Timberwolves, Charlotte
Yep.
Hornets, Memphis Grizzlies, New Orleans Pelicans, and the Los Angeles Clippers.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Good job, Ralph.
Thank you. And I don't even follow the NBA that much, hardly at all, actually.
It's okay. The out of the ones that the oldest that have been there would be the Sacramento Kings, then Atlanta, then the Wizards, and then we go Portland back in 92. So then the Houston in 95, Utah in 98, the Bulls in 98, the Knicks in 99, and the rest are all 2000 or sooner. So the Pacers last.
The Bulls haven't been in a championship in a while. The Chicago Bulls.
98 was the last time.
Yeah, that's the last time they were in something. Gee whiz.
So the Pacers are 2000. The Knicks were 99. Let's see. And we said okay. And OKC, it was 2012. So kind of interesting. Bingo. I'm trying to think where I was going to go next. Oh, I have absurd but true. Jerry Jeudy he's gonna receive $16 million to play in 2025. That's more than all the Packers starting wide receivers and tight ends combined.
Jeez.
Wow.
That crazy or what? All the Packers starting wide receivers and tight ends are scheduled to make $15.79 million compared to Jerry Jeudy's making
Man, I thought you had breaking news that he was going to Pittsburgh.
Sorry.
Y'all don't need any more wide receivers because you ain't got a quarterback that can throw to them.
It's coming. It's coming. He just hasn't made a decision yet.
Hey, Pensman, I got a better chance of getting struck by lightning than
There
that.
you go. There you go. There you go.
But yeah, I mean, isn't that a beautiful thing?
No.
You got one. Well, no, I'm saying one wide receiver on one team making more than an entire roster of wide receivers and tight ends for another one. I mean, to me, that just screams that Green Bay is a well-run organization, and they didn't have to overpay people. I mean, they got themselves in a great spot, is what that says to me.
Yeah.
What that says to me is they're hoping and banking that their quarterback does well, and because they've paid him pretty early a pretty hefty contract, I'm hoping that he proves it and throws to all those wide receivers and connects.
Well, we talked about that the other day when we talked about the top ranked, and I said Jordan Love will be the next one to see. But one of the reasons I said Brock Purdy shouldn't have got his money is because he doesn't make those around him better. Can Jordan Love be that quarterback to make this $15 million roster of wide receivers and tight ends? Can he be the one to make them better? I trust Jordan Love more than I do Brock Purdy. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, and I think one thing you have to account for is that Jordan Love did miss some time last year. Number one, number two, you have Christian Watson, who's had problems staying healthy, and you've had Romeo Dobbs, who's been inconsistent, and then who's the other receiver the Packers have? Number 11.
Scallions.
He makes very little money, so I couldn't tell you.
Oh, that's funny. That is so
Yeah,
funny.
so Jaden Reed. You have
Jaden
Jaden Reed, who's shown flashes, but again, not enough consistency. So, I mean, here's the hope that maybe Matthew Golden can be that next wide receiver one for them. First, obviously, we all know first wide receiver the Packers took in the first round since 2002. And as a Southern Fried gentleman said, it just goes to show why the Packers are such a model franchise. Because it's not like the Packers haven't had their fair share of good wide receivers over the years. Donald Driver, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Devontae Adams, I believe, was a third or a fourth round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Sterling Sharp.
Sterling Sharp. And then now let's see, if Matthew Golden, the team's first round pick in almost 25 years at that position, can be that next good wide receiver one. And if Jordan Love can stay healthy, I don't see why he can't. I remember he was a really good player at Texas, so we'll see what he can do for them.
And if there's one franchise you can trust over the last, I don't know, 25, 30 years as far as their quarterback play,
it's the Packers.
Is the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, they nailed it. Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers sat behind him for a few years. Jordan Love, they got him for a steal later in the first round, sat behind Aaron Rodgers, and everybody forgets. It always benefits rookie quarterbacks if they can sit for a little while.
So, JD, I love how you kind of segued that, because I have an interesting stat. The last time each team started a rookie quarterback in an NFL game. So, let's guess. How do I even want to put this? Well, let's start with each of your teams. Can you guys guess when was the last time your team started a rookie quarterback?
Yeah, so for me, it's pretty easy. Michael Penn season.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty easy as well. Bryce Young, 2023, I think it was.
Yeah, 2004, Ben Roethlisberger.
And then 2022, and then 2022, Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, and Kenny Pickett too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say, no, the Steelers have started a rookie quarterback way more recently than Ben Roethlisberger.
I helped you out there,
No, but I'm saying Ben was one,
So the Bears started in 2024, the Broncos in 24, the Commanders in 24, the Saints in 24, the Falcons, and the Patriots all in 24. In 23, we had the Vikings, the Browns, the Cardinals, the Colts, the Giants, the Panthers, the Raiders, the Texans, and the Titans. In 22, it was the Steelers, the San Francisco 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Ravens. In 21, it was the Jets and the Jaguars. In 20, it was the Eagles, the Bengals, the Cowboys, and the Chargers. Then in 19, it was the Lions. In 18, it was the Buffalo Bills. In 17, it was the Chiefs. In 16, it was the Rams. 15, it was the Buccaneers. In 2012, it was the Seahawks. Guess when the last time the Green Bay Packers started a rookie quarterback.
Aaron Rodgers.
Well,
92.
Guess the year.
92.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say
but-
somewhere in the 90s. Yeah.
I was going to say somewhere in the late 80s. Was it Mikowski?
It was 1987
Ah,
was the last time the Packers started a rookie quarterback.
Wow.
Hey, and it in
I mean, it's worked out for them pretty
1987's
good.
in 1987's defense, that was a heck of a year. That was the year I was born. So y'all stay off of the 1987 hate. But that is wild.
Yeah, it's worked
That
out.
was-
Wild stat.
Huge difference.
That was the year I graduated from high school and made my Eagle at the same time. So there you go. Same year.
And it was Randy White. Don Mikowski was also a member of the team, and he started 5 games. Mikowski was drafted within the 10th round in 1987. But it just goes to show you, like, JD, you were talking about how the Packers, they draft them and they sit them. They don't normally throw them out there like a lot of these other teams do. I found that really interesting, that the difference between all the years. Like, that's just crazy to me. Any topics you guys besides my town? Otherwise, we're going to get to my town. Unless there's a topic you guys are burning to talk about.
I'm ready.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
My town. Let's start with Ralph.
Well, there was a rumor today on the on YouTube by one of the podcasts, Steeler podcasts, that said that the Steelers signed the Hundley quarterback from Miami, which I find very hard to believe because I didn't hear anything from my sources. I reached out to them; they said no. So that's been squashed, and so Pirates are off today. They play San Diego tomorrow, and those Penguins, we're still waiting to see what kind of who their head coach is going to be, and we're going to find out what the Pitt Panthers are going to do this year for football and basketball, because both coaches are on the walking on eggshells this year, both Jeff Cable and Pat Narduzzi. So
Okay, JD.
that's my town.
What's happening in your town?
Oh man, my town. I already told y'all I'm down in Charleston, so I will say I love the upstate of South Carolina way better. I almost got so disrespected last night by the humidity in Charleston. I almost turned around and went home. That's how bad it was. Got out of the car, it smacked me in the face, and I almost said, you know what, humidity and heat, I'm going back to the upstate, where it's not 90 degrees at 8 a.m. or 9 p.m. And so for my town, we're down in Charleston. Shout out again, like I said, I alluded to it, all of these beautiful Southern Conference venues. Clemson Regional this week, I'll be tuned into that. Top to bottom, that is the best NCAA baseball regional as far as talent. You got West Virginia, a 40-plus win team. Kentucky, 30-something wins in the SEC. Great team. And then Clemson. And you've got USC Upstate, who, not to brag, I played a little baseball for them back in the day. So that is the best regional in college baseball. So y'all tune in to college baseball and college softball. Women's College World Series, playoffs for college baseball, you won't find anything better. And that is what I want people in my town and on my Southern Fried Sports and my Bang Bang Southern Fried Gang. That's what I want them to know. College baseball, college softball. Tune in.
Samir, what's happening in your town?
All right, so Falcons kicked off OTAs this week. Kirk Cousins was not there. That is not a surprise. Kyle Pitts, it's a big year for him. Got in a contract year, was not there. He's nursing an injury. Right tackle Caleb McGarry was also absent. Per reports, rookie Jalen Walker has stood out. He has received a lot of recognition from Raheem Morris and some of his teammates, including Caden Ellis. The Hawks are still in their search for their new president of basketball operations. There have been recent reports that they may end up not making a hire and may just let current promoted general manager Onzi Sala oversee all basketball operations. And that tells me that, there's a good chance that a lot of these candidates don't want the job, which is something you definitely don't want to see. But regardless of which direction they go, who they select or promote to be this next president of basketball operations is going to have a very big say in the direction of the franchise. We've been in the play-in for 4 straight years, have not won a playoff series since that run of the Eastern Conference Finals in 2021. And you've got to make a decision on Trae Young. He is entering an opt-out year in 2026, and he's made it clear that he wants to stay in Atlanta. But at the same time, you got to believe that he wants to win. But, I have seen, some ideas floated around about the Hawks making a big trade for Giannis. And look, seeing those graphics and photoshops of Trae Young and Giannis together is intriguing, but it's not what they need. I look at what Indiana did. You get 1 or 2 guys considered stars, and you've got to give them some really good depth pieces or guys that are really good at playing their role. The Hawks have that foundation with Trae, obviously, and if he can stay healthy, Jalen Johnson, and if he can continue to develop Zachary Shea, Dyson Daniels, but we need more. Specifically, we need a center, and we need a big. We need a guy that's 7 foot, can rebound, block shots, because that's what we've been missing most through these last 4 or 5 years, if you ask me. Now, regarding the Braves, they just beat the Phillies. They won the second game of the doubleheader today, 9-3. However, still doesn't inspire a lot of confidence for me in the team as a whole. They've lost 7 of their last 11. They're 10.5 back in the East. They are 6 games out of the wild card. A lot of concerns around the bullpen, specifically recently, Daysbel Hernandez Tuesday night walked in a run, and then today, game 1 of the doubleheader, hit Rafael Mershon, the Phillies' backup catcher, to break a 4-4 tie. We end up losing that game 5-4. I know in the 9th, Sean Murphy missed a 3-run home run by a few feet, and he had a questionable strike 3 call against Eli White with the bases loaded. I thought it was low. They did win game 2, 9-3, to avoid the sweep. Got 6 earned runs off of Zach Wheeler, including a 2-run home run by Ozzy Albies, who is currently on a hot streak. He has a 14-game hitting streak and is 7 for 17 since Acuna came back last Friday. But as I said earlier, the win doesn't really lessen any of the concerns. I think 12 or 13 of their losses consecutively, so their last 12 or 13 losses have come by 1 or 2 runs, and it just comes down to the fact that they haven't been a clutch team. They have not been able to come up with big hits when it's mattered, and that's the frustrating part. Also, another bullpen concern, Raisel Iglesias. He's struggled a lot this season. He's blown 3 saves. The ERA is pushing 6. And even tonight in a low leverage scenario, came in the game, we were up 9-2, allowed 2 hits and a run. He almost allowed a home run at the end, Alec Bohm, but Michael Harris made a nice catch at the wall to end the game. But still, we are headed back to Atlanta. We've got a home stretch against Arizona and Boston coming up. And just still, there are a lot of concerns about this team. The clutch hitting, the bullpen, and then your rotation just took another blow. AJ Smith-Shawver was pitched through about 2.5 innings until he got hit by a comebacker, and then he also had a pop in his elbow, which is never good news. The worst case scenario is looking like it might be a Tommy John, which is very unfortunate. He was really starting to come into his own. But again, just another blow in a season that's been full of them. And I know after a lot of losses, I've seen a lot of Braves fans on Twitter saying, I think we need to fire Snick, or we need to fire Tim Hires, the hitting coach. I just feel like at a certain point, you've got to look at the players. The players play at the end of the day. I mean, a new manager's not going to help Matt Olson hit with the bases loaded. A new manager's not going to stop Daysbel Hernandez from walking people or stop Raisel Iglesias from giving up home runs. So at the end of the day, it's up to the players.
Yeah. I blame Alex Anthopoulos.
Yeah.
For not acting more this offseason.
I mean, like the bullpen has always been an early offseason priority for AA. And for one reason or another, you saw Joe Jimenez go down for the season. You saw Jay Minter leave. And for one reason or another, you decided not to address the bullpen. And we need another outfield bat, if you ask me. And I like Nick Allen's glove, but we can't have a shortstop that can't get it done at the plate. And ultimately, as you said, it starts with Alex. People are blaming Snit, but number one, the players play. Number two, we still have a lot of holes in this roster that weren't addressed in the offseason.
Okay. Pensman, what's happening in your town?
Well, I just want to answer this question. Who's the Steelers QB1?
Kirk Cousins.
It's going to be Mason Rudolph. If Rodgers does sign, it'll be Rodgers. If Kirk Cousins does sign, that's Samir wants so bad, it'll probably be Kirk Cousins. But right now, at the current roster, it is going to be Mason Rudolph as we speak. So with that, what's happening in my town, Mitch Love is a huge candidate for the Pittsburgh Penguins. DJ Smith is another one. So go through a bunch of interviews. We'll see what happens. We'll see who's going to be the next coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and that's what's happening in my town.
Okay, so obviously we've already talked about the Florida Panthers are in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's pretty much the town that I currently live in, the town that I'm from. Obviously, I talk a lot about Wisconsin. The Brewers are like 6.5 back of the Cubs. The Cubs are having a really good year. Brewers not so much, even though they just swept the series against Boston Red Sox, so that was good. But they took two of the games went to extra innings, and they took both of them. So, but I have to do a shout out today. Wisconsin officially became the 30th state in the United States on May 29th, 1848. So happy birthday to the state of Wisconsin, celebrating its 177th birthday today. And that's what I've got. So I'm going to quick do my station break, which I didn't do earlier. So let me quick. Scott, who hosts most of our shows on the South Florida Tribune Network, wrote a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. He talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved, the industry. The picture of him and a young Muhammad Ali and him and a young Tommy Lasorda. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Go get your copy today. And then there's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you see the red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't have already subscribed to us, but if you see it, then click it because that means you have it. So do it today and go click everybody's YouTube channel that's on here. Subscribe to everybody for us. And then if you want to advertise or sponsor a show, you can call Scott 954-304-4941. And if you want to be a guest on the show, or if you have topic ideas that you'd like us to discuss on a show, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Well, guys, we're going to go around the horn and let everybody know how they can find you as well, my awesome panelists tonight. JD, we'll start with you.
All right, good deal. I gotta run on out of here. I think I'm echoing now a little bit. My bad. But yeah, I'm gonna run on out. Y'all follow me at JDWyatt06 on X. You can find me at Southern Fried Sports JD on YouTube. We welcome any and all conversation, and y'all be blessed, not stressed, and just be kind to one another. And don't complain about sports. Let's have fun with it. Good night, everybody.
Enjoy your wedding.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one. Be blessed.
Thanks, you too. Samir, how can people find you?
You can find me on X at ATL_Samir2401. I post a lot of commentary and a lot of my articles on there. So that's where you'll be able to find me. And my Instagram page is samir.sidelinenet. That's where I post a lot of clips of my content as well.
And of course, they can always find you here on Thursday nights.
Yep.
Awesome. Ralph, how can people find you?
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter X platform. Please follow me on Twitter. I'd like to get to 600 by July. I'm at 308 right now. And also don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget on Saturdays, 9 a.m., the Sports Wrap Show with me, Ralph Williams, Scott Morganroth, or Candy Ebling, and Leo Haggerty from Amped Up Sports. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter X platforms, and now on Kick as well. And soon to be on the Oracle network. I'm going to be getting on the phone with their tech people because we're having some issues trying to get me on the air here. And I'll be on the phone with their tech person tomorrow. So that's coming soon as well. And don't forget my radio shows on Saturday as well, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., the Ralph Williams, Tony Moreno Show on 1250 a.m., The Answer 92.5 on the FM dial in Pittsburgh. Or if you live across the country or around the world, you can go on 1250 The Answer, pgh.com, or Google. Scroll down to Radio Stations USA to where it says 1250 a.m. The Answer, push the button, the arrow, and you are on the air to listen to the show as well. Also, 2 p.m., Sports Corner Radio Show. This Saturday, we are going to be talking about what can be done, in our opinion, on what can be done to fix the Steelers, the Penguins, and the Pirates, and the Pitt Panthers athletics, the football team and the men's basketball team. That's with me, Ralph Williams, Smoking Jim Frazier, Luther Dupree, and Claudio Rosano. And that's it for me. That's how you can get a hold of me. Please subscribe and please follow me on Twitter.
Okay, Pensman, how can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at Pensman Sports. I have 807 subscribers. Help me get to that 1,000 mark. We're almost there. I want to hit there before football starts because I got a lot of Steelers content coming. You can find me on Twitter on Pensman Sports. You can get me on Discord at Pensman Sports. And you can find me on Twitch at Pensman Sports 07.
Awesome show, guys. Thanks for being here. Thanks for everybody that was in the chat. We appreciate you staying up a little bit later than usual for us. We hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you next time.